Hi there, Mouseketeers. Welcome to the Disneyland Beat, where our toes tap to a Disneyland drum.
And we always whistle while we work.
America has changed in many ways over the past 97 years since Disney first incorporated in 1923.
Now, in 2020, it should come as no surprise that Disney has had some very controversial moments in its history.
And several of those have happened at Disneyland Park.
Today, we'll be looking at Disneyland's most controversial attractions.
In 2023, Disney will be 100 years old. It's gonna be crazy at the parks. I am so excited.
Welcome to today's very clickbaity topic. There are several different controversial themes that occur on different rides, and that is how we've sorted our list today.
First of all, intellectual property. Should a ride use a Disney intellectual property? Or should it stick to an original storyline?
Space Mountain is a classic Disney original. There's nothing like it in 1977 when it came out. It was a completely original story. There were no Space Mountain movies. But Disney works with Star Wars franchise, and Imagineers come along and overlay Star Wars on it.
And that's the debate, whether or not they should have done it.
In our opinion, Hyperspace Mountain just adds an additional layer of fun to the ride. We really like it, but we do understand both sides.
It's a tough balance between maintaining the museum-like nostalgia of the park while keeping it relevant, fresh, and new.
There is often debate over the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay on the Haunted Mansion.
Some people preferred Tom Sawyer's Island to Pirate's Lair.
And incredibly, some people were very upset about the Incredicoaster overlay on California Screamin'.
And the Guardians of the Galaxy moving into the Tower of Terror.
But really, these are one of the simplest problems that these attractions can face.
Some attractions are controversial because they are considered too scary and overwhelming to be in a Disney park, especially if the ride is intended for the youngest guests in the park.
The first one that springs to mind is Snow White's Scary Adventures, which originally didn't even have scary in its title. But after years of frightening the heck out of howling children, they changed the name.
It's been toned down quite a bit over the years, too. The witch used to pop out and jump scare you several more times than she does now. Or did, anyhow. We'll see what she's up to after the refurb.
The hanging ghost host inside the Haunted Mansion stretching room has inspired many upset parents to stop by City Hall and give them a piece of their mind.
And it is tough to be a bug with its stinging seats, claustrophobic theater, and buggy buzzing sound and wind, which has scared more than a few young ones.
And here, we've arrived at a more difficult and complex place. Some attractions are controversial because they romanticize violence in a very kid-friendly way.
Over the course of its run, the Country Bears Jamboree content began to be viewed as inappropriate.
Honestly, there's plenty to find offensive in the Country Bear Jamboree. The show did glamorize child abuse, violence, alcoholism, and more.
The counter-argument is that the attraction was not meant to be taken literally, and the Imagineers thought it was funny that large, stuffed comic animals would tackle such material.
Some rides have created controversy due to the outdated depictions of women, and many Disney has already changed, like Pirates of the Caribbean.
The Pirates of the Caribbean has been changed a few times over its lifetime.
Originally, the famous ride had a pirate who talked to the guests holding the undergarments of a woman he had trapped naked in a barrel behind him. As you went by, he bragged about hoisting the colors and that "I be willing to share, I be."
Today, Jack Sparrow is inside that barrel, and the man is holding a map to buried treasure.
And most recently, the auction scene was changed, where the pirate wenches used to be auctioned off as the pirates laughed at an overweight woman and whistled at a buxom redhead showing her cleavage. The scene was removed, leaving the redhead as the pirate auctioning off a bunch of chickens.
Some are probably still not happy with this change and argue that, again, because it was a heightened, fantastic world of fun body pirates and not reality, the representation becomes acceptable.
But we think that Disney has wisely realized that fantasy pirates can auction chickens instead of selling women into servitude.
When I think about which fantasy I want to present to my child, I gotta say, I'm happier with the updated version.
Just like Pirates of the Caribbean and the Country Jamboree, I like to think that it has never caused any child abuse, alcoholism, or violence, or ever inspired anyone to become a singing man-eating bear.
But times definitely change, and the park needs to stay relevant, inclusive, and accessible.
Some people feel that the park rides just should not change at all, and we really understand that sentiment. We don't want to lose any parts of Disneyland that are special to us either.
But sometimes there are good reasons to make a change.
Disneyland has had a few attractions in its past that are considered very culturally insensitive by today's standard.
When the park first opened, there were 2 villages that showcased the Native American culture. Near to where Critter Country is today was the Indian Village, which was part of Frontierland the first few decades the park was open.
This attraction, representing many tribes, was operated and staffed in conjunction with the National Congress of American Indians and is remembered as a positive experience for everybody involved, both fun and educational, even in its unrealistic and fantastic context.
But at the same time, across the river at the north end of the island was the unfriendly tribe.
There was a burning settler's cabin, a neat feat to have a building constantly on fire,
depicting a scene of pioneer settlers who had been killed in their homes.
But then there was a sort of show that would occur at Fort Wilderness. At the time, the fort had a second level that you could walk on and turrets and towers with toy guns inside.
Near the time when the sailing ship Columbia would fire its cannon on the fort, a large group of unfriendly Indians, simply cast members in costumes, would attack the fort coming from the north.
The children inside the fort would then get to shoot down the attacking marauders.
It's really a scene that is hard to imagine inside the park today. We should make sure to add the Aunt Jemima's Pancake House, where you could actually meet Aunt Jemima.
It is hard to present a more obvious racial trope than Aunt Jemima, who is a character borrowed directly from minstrel shows of the Reconstruction period.
Characters like Aunt Jemima were used to paint a picture of the South where the slaves enjoyed their lives, content with their roles.
It's just not an accurate picture of history that is being presented. And that is the same exact problem that Splash Mountain has had its entire existence.
The ride's characters come from Disney's A Song of the South, and it's one of the few films to not get re-released in the United States, and for a good reason.
The film has both animated and live action sequences. The fairly innocuous animated sequences are what you see on the ride.
But the live action depicted a goldened over South, beautiful and pastoral, and completely failed at every step to do anything but completely romanticize the period.
This is a film which Bob Iger himself has recognized is not appropriate for today's world, and has rightly been kept from distribution. You won't find it on Disney Plus, and that's his choice.
Luckily, when you ride Splash Mountain, there's very little to take offense with. A fox and a bear try to catch a rabbit and get outsmarted, a possum tells a cautionary tale, and the rest of the other animals throw a musical theater party.
It's a super fun ride.
Well, that's all we're gonna tackle for today.
Are there other attractions at Disney that you have found to be controversial? The Jungle Cruise? Or even just something simple like Earworm, like, it's a small world after all, it's a small world after all, it's a small world after all, it's a small, small world. That'll be with you for a while.
Seriously, on a serious note, this is the first time we've ever taken on anything close to a controversial topic, and we hope it was food for thought.
Please be kind to each other, and in the comments too, please be respectful.
See you real soon, Mouseketeers.
We'll see you real soon.